Princess Sarah's Journey. Episode 2, The Forest of Whispering Doubts. Morning arrived softly over the kingdom of Luminara, painting the towers with silver light and stretching long shadows across the gardens. The world felt gentle and new, like a deep breath after rain. Princess Sarah stood alone on her balcony, watching the day wake up below. Birds circled the sky. Bells chimed in the distance. Everything seemed peaceful. And yet, inside her chest, something small still trembled. Even after her brave moment at the festival, even after the smiles and thanks, a quiet worry lingered. A tiny voice that whispered when no one else was around. A voice that asked questions she didn't want to answer. The castle suddenly felt too crowded, too loud, too heavy for her thoughts. So Sarah slipped down the stairs and wandered past the blooming gardens, past the fountains and hedges, toward the quiet edge of the land. She told herself she only needed fresh air. Just a short walk. Just space to think. Her shoes brushed softly against the grass as the sounds of the kingdom faded behind her. Step by step, the world grew quieter, until it was only her heartbeat and the rustle of leaves keeping her company. Ahead of her stood a forest she had never entered before. The trees rose tall and graceful, their leaves glowing silver green as sunlight danced between the branches. Butterflies drifted lazily through the air, and the ground looked soft with moss and tiny flowers. It didn't seem frightening at all. It looked beautiful. Like a place where secrets slept and dreams grew quietly. Sarah felt her shoulders relax. Maybe this was exactly what she needed, a place where everything slowed down. A place where her thoughts could finally rest. But as she stepped deeper between the trees, the wind changed. The air grew cooler. Leaves rustled in a strange, uneven rhythm. Then she heard it, a whisper. So soft it almost sounded like her imagination. She stopped walking. Another whisper followed. Longer this time. Closer. It seemed to slide between the branches like smoke. Sarah turned slowly, searching for someone, but no one was there. Only trees. Only shadows. And the sound of something calling her name without ever speaking it aloud. The whispers grew clearer as she walked. They curled around her like cold air, slipping into her ears and wrapping around her thoughts. The words felt familiar, like old memories she wished to forget. Too quiet. Too small. Not brave enough. Not special enough. Each sentence sounded exactly like the doubts she used to tell herself on lonely nights. The trees seemed to lean closer with every step, their branches creaking softly, repeating those fears again and again, until her chest felt tight and heavy. Suddenly the forest didn't feel magical anymore. The sunlight thinned and faded, the path behind her disappeared beneath tangled roots. Branches twisted like reaching fingers, and shadows stretched long across the ground. The whispers overlapped, louder and faster now, until they sounded like a storm inside her head. Sarah tried to hurry, but her feet felt heavy, like the earth itself was holding her back. No matter which way she turned, the trees closed in. The more she listened to the voices, the darker the world became. Her heart pounded like a drum. She covered her ears, squeezing her eyes shut, wishing the noise would stop. But the whispers weren't outside her, they were inside. Echoing through her own thoughts. Telling her she didn't belong. Telling her she would always be less. Tears slipped down her cheeks as the forest pressed closer, colder and darker. For a moment, she believed the voices. For a moment, she felt smaller than ever, like she might disappear completely into the shadows. Then, through all that noise, something small flickered. A memory. Warm and gentle like candlelight. She remembered the gardener smiling at her kindness. The kitten asleep in her lap. the workers holding flowers with grateful eyes. Those moments had been real, not whispers, not fears. Real. Slowly, a tiny glow formed inside her chest, pushing back against the darkness. Maybe the voices weren't telling the truth. Maybe they were only fears pretending to be facts. Sarah took a slow breath. Then another. She stopped fighting the whispers and simply let them pass like wind through leaves. And in that quiet space, her own voice rose, soft but steady. Kind. Certain. Enough. Warm light spilled from beneath her feet, spreading across the ground like sunrise. Wherever the light touched, the thorns softened and the shadows melted away. The twisted trees straightened, and the whispers faded into gentle rustling. The forest was changing because she was changing. She followed the glowing path forward, step by brave step. At last, the trees opened and sunlight poured over her again. Birds sang. The air felt fresh and bright. Behind her, the forest looked smaller, quieter, almost ordinary. Sarah walked toward the castle as the sky turned pink and gold. She felt tired, but lighter than before. The whispers weren't gone forever. They might return someday. But now she understood their secret. Not every thought deserved her belief, some were only shadows. And as the first stars blinked awake above her, small yet shining, Sarah smiled, knowing her own quiet light would always guide her home.